Again, greetings and thanks for joining us today. This very specific webinar is going to be on additional tools for advanced research into trading the markets, and Boomerang Day Trader specifically, of course, is always our core trading vehicle because it works so well and it sets up the charts so well. Now you can see right here, for example, let me bring up, in fact, I've got on here a recent article that just came out from Traders World magazine. This is a famous magazine. It's been around forever, long time, very well known. It's in all the bookstores and everything. And they just recently featured an article that I wrote in this article, which was called it was just about a little history of myself and all that. Now we have it here in a regular typed out form, and you can see the original article from the magazine is available here. It's called Day Trading in Today's Higher Risk Markets. And I talk about a little bit of the history of what I did starting back in 2001 with my daily directional forecast newsletter, and how we were calling the markets every day with 80% accuracy on the next day direction, and very specific trades like watch for the market to open lower, and after we use the hour one pivot all the time. Watch for the hour one pivot, and then if it moves above the hour one, look for the markets to drop lower in the morning and go higher in the afternoon, breaking out above the hour one pivot. Stuff like that. Very exact and specific. So I talk a little bit about that here, show one of the pictures from one of the large seminars I did. Remember seminars where you had to fly into the city and pay for the hotel and the air flight, excuse me, the time spent on the road? Well, on this particular one, we had 320 traders show up just for my seminar. I was the only presenter. It was very exactly and specifically for my methods that I was teaching. And I was very honored. We had over a dozen brokers show up from Chicago, and about 14 floor traders showed up too. I was very popular when I first started, still am, but back then, especially you're new and everybody was all excited to come and see the new methodology that everybody was hearing about. And so you can see the proof here. I have dozens of pictures, but this is one of them that I kind of spliced here, showing the crowds and everything. And I was up there just, explaining the methodology with the large screen with the slides and all that. But here, what I wanted to show you, without getting too sidetracked there, I just wanted to show you this article, which you can read on your spare time. I appreciate it. I think you'll like it. There's good common road sense in there about driving. But here's a plain chart here. You see this? This is a plain 450 tick NASDAQ chart, and this is why I wanted to show you this. There's a purpose here for this. Let me move this up a little here. There, you can see it really well. It just saved me having to build a blank one here. Now here's a blank chart there, and you look at it, and if that's all you're using, you can say, well, I could say, well, maybe on this high there might be a breakdown, and if this breakdown holds, the next pop back up, I could go. There are people who trade that way, just using price action. But look what happens when you add a boomerang chart to it. Do you see that? Blank chart, you kind of go, well, it could go here, it could go there. Boomerang chart. And then especially like today, when you learn our methodology, you realize that the blue dots are buy signals in the buy channel. There's the arrow for the buy channel. It's green shaded. Green is go for green and buy. There's the blue dots, and in the sell channel here, there's the yellow dots. You see that? Now, one particular thing you'll note here, and I'm just showing you this article to make my life a little easier today and show you this example, and also encourage you to read the article when you get a chance over on boomerangtrader.com. But one key characteristic you note here is that whenever there was a buy channel opening up, it was more or less encircled by these dynamic trend bands, and particularly the thicker dynamic trend band here, known as the dynamic trend band number 1, and number 2 is this thinner dashed dot line, that the trade channels appear they're in force when the prices move under the dynamic trend band number 2 in particular, or above it in this case. It becomes like a really wonderful bias line. I mean, for right now, taking out bias line number 2 and also the cobra here. This is the cobra, which is a dotted bias line that runs through here, but more on that later. We'll get to that in a moment. But for right now, I just want to show you how, even if this wasn't colored, in other words, if this bias indicator number 2 or number 1 here was not colored, but just one solid color, you see that price is it's a bias reading instrument. And that's what the purpose of this seminar is. I'm going to show you some advanced techniques in reading the market using Boomerang. You see that? Prices above this line, bullish. Prices curving under it, bearish. Prices curving above it, bullish. You see that? So what I've done today is I've got two charts here, and what I've got on here are elements of my roadmap. Now, what I just showed you is very interesting and very profound. I'm going to show you some other things in a minute here, but keep in mind that I have produced, where is that here, an entire package of advanced studies of trading the markets that I can absolutely guarantee you is going to increase your knowledge of the markets tremendously and increase the accuracy of your boomerang trades. I use the roadmap elements, certain ones that I'll show you today. I use them every day in the markets when in my live trading room, and I wouldn't trade without them. Now, Boomerang in and of itself works beautiful just out of the package like you see here, but with the added roadmap elements, you'll find that it's just absolutely a more involved study of the markets, and you'll like that. Now, let's see, here's the this was a piece I did a while back that showed different elements of the roadmap in here, but I'm going to simplify it for you today. But this gives you a little study. If you just go on the blog, you can see that my amazing Boomerang Roadmap is now available. This, when it came out, was November of 2016. And we've had a tremendous amount of traders get this, and I've got all kinds of comments they send me, which are always, of course, very much appreciated. But let me show you, showing you that part, I want to show you how this works. Let's start out with the mini NASDAQ. Now keep in mind what I just showed you from that Trader World article. With that in mind, what I've done is I've removed the dynamic trend band number 1 here, and just, or number 2, and just left number 1, the dynamic trend band number 1 here for that simple reading. And I want to show you how just using that, you'll find it's quite fascinating. And you have the ability to do this, but you could just color it one color if you wanted. But the bias color change is very excellent and important too, because, for example, I'll give you just a quick example. Here's a trade where a sell channel opens up, right? And you're looking for a sell trade. It hits the Bollinger Band, and we have your prices are under the dynamic trend band number 1 here, right? And that's very good because that tells you the bias is to the sell side. Now, gee, what a coincidence, but notice how the prices came up and exactly tapped 3 times on the dynamic trend band number 1 before flopping back lower, and indeed setting up the correct slope of the cobra. See, the cobra is red here, it's green here. So now you got a red cobra and a red dynamic trend band number 1, and you see how that creates the bias there. Similarly, prices above the dynamic trend band number 1 here, moving up. Now the color didn't change till later, but you can see the advanced reading of the cobra. Now here's what I wanted to show you. And this is really a wonderful thing. This is an element, a part of the Boomerang Roadmap. Now in the Boomerang Roadmap, let's see, I list them here. It's only $2.95, and you'll pay for that in your first trade, and then you own it for life. So it is literally worth I can't even imagine. 100 times that is $290,000. It's worth a lot. You have to figure how much you trade. Are you going to be a career trader? But you have the precision price filters, which I'm going to show in a minute, the precision price bands, tick blast accumulation, interday bias channels. Very, very, very important. One thing I'm going to show you in the roadmap package will change your whole clarity on your boomerang trading substantially. And then, of course, the key institutional support resistance levels, which I'll show you today here in the webinar. Two instructional videos that are very in-depth, over an hour each, and they're exciting. They're not boring. At least, anytime you watch something that long, it might get a little tedious, but every single thing I say in here is packed with information to help you become a really expert trader. So one of those elements is what I call, it's shown here as the filter. It's called uh, the precision price filters. And that consists of this white line and this orange line here. Now, what I'm going to do, I probably should have done this, but I was hustling to get ready here. It'll just take me a millisecond, and we'll get that set up here. I want to show you, I'm going to thicken these lines up. Let me find that here. Filter, there it is. All I'm going to do is thicken that line up just a smidgen here. Let me test that and see how that comes out. Ah, beautiful. Thicker orange line. You see that? Okay, let me get this other one just thickened up a little bit too, to also a 3-period level. And this will help our study here today. There we go. Excellent. Okay. Now, what I want to show you, this filter alone is worth easily the price of the Boomerang Road Map, but worth hundreds of times of that, because here's why. Now, this is very specifically why I did not put the dynamic trend band number 1 on here. Now, keep in mind, when this changes to magenta, the dynamic trend band number 1, or number 2, which is over here, is already changed. It's not on here, but it's already changed to the magenta color, giving you the hint. And when the colors match, you trade the move. That's the rule. But I'm assuming most of you know that today. If you don't, that's fine. Just bear with me, because what I want to do is show you how the filter helps front run the change. Because once the dynamic trend band number 2 is changed color, the number 1 is also going to be changed color too, practically 95% of the time. So I'm just showing you how that wouldn't change color till here, which is fine. It still lines this up, and Boomerang works beautiful. Again, we guarantee 90% winning trade setups. It's never been done before in the industry, so it's really unique. But now I've added this additional filter for those of you like me who are trading fanatics and want to know as much information as you can, so when you get in that trade, you can do what? Little quiz for you. That's right, pile on more contracts, because in this business, you get a raise. When you have a salary in a company, you got to do a lot of brown nosing and really good work. But in this business, you give yourself a raise by convincing yourself and knowing that you're really becoming an excellent boomerang trader, and now you want to pile it on, having additional tools. That's why I invented these. Gives you the ability to eventually move up to that 10 contract trader. Now, I know some of you who might be in the room are larger traders than that, and you're chuckling a little, because 10 is like your average amount you put on each trade. I understand, I'm one of those myself, but for our newer traders, to do 2 to 3 lots is a big deal. To become a blue-collar working trader and do 4 is a huge deal in many cases. But look at the filters that I've designed for you here. Now watch this. Again, the orange line, the lead line is this white line here. The orange line, again, scoops, what I call scoops, the Boomerang trade channel. Notice how it scoops it almost perfectly. Similar to dynamic trend band number 1, but look at how the orange line scoops that. And then when you get a crossover, right? Combined with the cobra crossing over the dynamic trend or the orange line on the filter, and then you got the match of the cobra with the filter. Do you see that? The price doesn't herky jerk jump around a little bit here, which is natural for the markets to do that after it's made, in this case, an extended move up. You always got to watch for a little bit of reaction when they go straight up and then they kind of crash. See, they crashed off this high. And naturally, when that happens, they're not going to just crash here, usually hit your yellow dot and go straight down. Now, sometimes it will, but a lot of times there's going to be a little bit of a reaction. So the boomerang price filter here, see that? Isn't that beautiful? Watching these two white lines here. Look how it scooped the channel, crossed under, and now with that spreading across, you're watching for the spread on the white channel, white line with the orange line. Now, look what happens. The prices come right down without any pressure after that spread opens up, and you get you get your sell channel here because there was a counter buy channel in here. And you get that. Plus, you did not have the dynamic trend band um, number one up here change colors yet. I made a mistake earlier. This is number one, and number two is the faster line. That's the way we measure that. So you can see how valuable that was. You're watching for this spread of the channel, then matching the color, and down they go. Now let's take another example. Here they are in this case, and this is something you can use, is you can use the dynamic trend band number one, which is this line, and simply say prices above bullish, prices below bearish, and not have it colored and just rely on this filter in the cobra. So here's a buy channel, here's the filter opening up, and here's the cobra crossing the orange line. That's what you'd look for, is the cobra, the matching colored cobra to cross the orange line. Prices above the dynamic trend band number two, and look how you get in that trade a little bit early. 85.50 runs up to 91.50. See, it runs up for 6 points there, and you're watching that, and you can see the action occurring right before your eyes. Now let's try another example. Okay, now here's a cross under. Now here's prices. All of a sudden do that, and they switch back to a sell bias. Well, look at this. There's the cross under right there, or the cross, yeah, cross under if it's to the sell side. Here's a new sell channel which taps the Bollinger Band, which is a wonderful, very effective confirmation tool that you can use, and you'll learn all about this. I have lots of information on our blog about this, but also on the package, the roadmap package. So here's the prices spreading, and here's the cobra right here, all at the same time crossing over the orange filter. You see that? There's a short there. You're under the dynamic trend band number one, and they go down without any pressure. They go right from 85 straight down to 78. They got blasted. So you can see, isn't that is a very valuable tool. And then that channel, notice this. This is very important. I'll have to widen this out. Notice the filter channel, orange line, white line. I know there's a bunch of lines on here, but orange line and white line, see them there? Notice how that orange line, white line channel continued until, of course, the market here just fell off the wagon, got completely slaughtered. Now, I'm going to show you something right now. It's a little bit of a sidetrack from what I'm talking about in terms of the orange filter. Well, I better get back to it. I was going to show you, this is what's called this indicator here and here. There are two indicators here that come with Boomerang, and this is called Hyper Scalp. I named it Hyper Scalp because it works so beautiful for scalping the markets and reads into the price so clearly that you're going to get hyper. No, it's that because it's very hyper. It really shows you what to do right away. You know, this is a fast business. But so notice the spread of this filter here. And of course, if you got short up here and you took profits, you did a good job. The filter did not cross here. It was just a whipsaw kind of move here. And you didn't have the filters crossing or anything, so they wouldn't have taken a trade. Then all of a sudden they're reversing again. The filters are already crossed under. You're under the dynamic trend band, number one, and so you can enter short again. But look at this. Look at how the Cobra, this 10 line or this 4 line, is kind of a level. You can see it on the upside here and here. It tends to be, and here, it tends to be a level where a lot of pressure comes in on the market. It tends to be show peak areas where the market reverses. You can see right here, reversal, right here, reversal, and then right here they got blasted a little hard. And this is what I was going to say. Because it exceeded the 4-point line, you can have your eye out. And when you see you're short up here, let's say you decide to hold, and I'll show you something else in a minute, because you just see that the channel's holding here, and they're starting to get pounded harder and harder. And you see this increasing beyond the 4-period line and getting pounded a little further. That's when you go on caution alert. And when you see the counter color of the force of this histogram change, that's where you can jump out. The minute that blinks onto the opposite color, something's shifting in the price and it's losing some of that momentum blast there. So you can, end the trade there, or even as a blast below the 4-period, you can see that the prices came down in the 4-period. They were almost at the low. So on that further blast, you could have got out. Plus, you had below is called the bias indicator number 2, which is part of Boomerang, has been for 7 years since Boomerang was developed. You can see the bias. This is also this 10-period level is a level where the force, this is a force measure, market force measure. When they make a real strong blast, that tends to be a peak of the market force. A little bit here. But here in particular, when they're really blasting them and they get them down to 10 and they blast them through that, and you can see that correlates with the hyper scalp, that's telling you that's probably a good place to get out. And of course, it's a beautiful gift from the market here. If you were short at 83 and they blast them down to 70, you had a tremendous gain potential in there wherever you happen to get out. You see that? Now, these two combined can also help you to read divergence in a very precision way. One other thing, though, I wanted to show you. Now, you're in this trade, and it's more or less a second level downside move. We have a rule in Boomerang that second level trades, you don't require a tap in the Bollinger Band. Usually on the level 1 trades, you want to tap in the Bollinger Band because that tap tends to ignite that side of the trade. And clearly they flip back to the other side and hit the Bollinger Band, but the price or the trend filtered channel here, the orange and white line, stayed open. So when this second level opened up, we have another thing I want to show you here, and it's called the price pressure filter. And that's these white bands here. The first one is a Bollinger Band. The second one is a development I created off of the Bollinger Band that when they spread apart, that means there's price pressure in that direction. And then when they actually solidify and stop, you can see that's an area where if you hadn't got out, you definitely want to get out, because most likely the trend is now going to shift in the other direction. You see how it does that. And of course, it correlates up here with another crossover up here, price pressure band. And a little pullback. I mean, it's going to stay open if the price pressure is there, just like that, you see? And again, these all come at a very low cost as part of my Boomerang Roadmap, which teaches you how to overall read the markets, increase your accuracy of boomerang trading tremendously, and in addition to that, you're going to learn the various key levels to watch each day to make sure that your boomerang trades are going to be winners. And as you use this and get extremely confident, you're going to end up being able to put on more contracts because you're going to feel very sure of where the market's going after you get used to these tools. So I hope that was valuable. Let me show you a couple of other price pressure moves here. Here's a classic right here. Again, this is on mini NASDAQ. And I'll show you a little trick that I use all the time now. Okay, here's a sell channel opening up, right? This is a little bit later morning session, 9:18 my time. That's noon 18, 12:18 in New York. So they're like, they're going out to lunch, or maybe they're watching how many of the European group, a lot of our trading partners and friends over in Europe leave the market at between 11:30 and noon New York time. They start fading out of the markets because it's late, or it's, I should say, early in the morning, like 3, 4, 5 in the morning. They're done trading, most of them, and they start moving away from the U.S. market at that point. The point is that I wanted to show you the price pressure bands, how nice that works. So you're saying, wow, market just made a nice run up. I wonder if they're going to reverse and go lower. Well, based on what I just showed you, first of all, here's what you'll know. You say, well, I see that prices right in here. Well, first of all, there's a new sell channel opening up that goes down and taps the Bollinger Band here, this thicker white line. You go, yeah, that's right. Then you say prices are below the dynamic trend band number 1. So that also suggests lower prices. And you see the filter opening right here, and right exactly at that point, you see the cobra, this dotted line, which is red colored, crossing there. But look at this early, and again, this is what the whole purpose of the roadmap package is. And again, it's only $295. You'll make it back in one trade following the simple method I'm showing you here. Look at the advance warning you had on pressure on the sell side right here when this dashed line crossed this thicker line here. It's a price pressure indicator that I built. Look at that. You had a warning even here on this candle before the sell channel opened. So this candle opened, the price pressure bands opened, you had the sell channel. You see that the prices are under the orange line, which is our secondary filter from the dynamic trend band number 2, right? The cobra crossed and they spread apart, and prices are also under this white line. So you have two filters for prices over or under that'll help you determine what to do. Or if they've spread apart, like the example I showed you here, once they've spread apart, it continues that trend. So you had this advanced notice here from the price pressure bands. Similarly, over here, happens all the time, buy channel opens up and you go, wow, the dynamic trend band, they're not above the dynamic trend band. But you immediately notice here, on this candle, way back at this candle, the price pressure bands opened up, giving you advance warning that the market could be ready to take off to the upside. Not ready yet. You're waiting for all your filters. So what you see here is, again, the filter opens up here, white going up, this scooping the buy channel. You see that? And the cobra right here crossing the orange line. So therefore, once the prices move up above dynamic trend band number 2, you trade a pullback to the signal line, and you're in the trade just right. And the price pressure bands, which are very sensitive, crossed just a smidgen over there. Then they immediately moved back up, and the price pressure went up. And look at how, in this case, the price pressure band's called the top there, almost exactly. So you say you're trying to catch the top, and they're running up here, and you're holding them just a little longer, and they fell back from here, and you're going, uh-oh, is this the top? And you see the price pressure bands cross, and you go, yeah, I'll get out. Then you get out, and they cross down here, and the whole market reverses. You see that? So this tool, again, alone, the price pressure bands, as I mentioned, are worth easily the cost of the whole package. But there's 2 hours of instructions with many examples of how to use all these tools, plus more things which I'm going to show you in a minute. And again, I use these every day to trade live in the crude oil in my live trading room. Today we had 4 winning trade setups, four trade. I mean, it's just been tremendous. We've had like over 60 winning trades this month. Yesterday there was 3. We had one that I got out early on. We had 5 of them back on May the 25th. 5 trades on May the 24th. This is crude oil. Just absolutely tremendous lately. The crude oil has been really rocking and rolling. We had 6 winning trades on Wednesday, May 17th. Just flipping through my notes, giving you some examples. And NASDAQ, all excellent trades there too. So, with that in mind, I'm just showing you different ways that you can use Boomerang. And when you have the roadmap, it opens up a whole world of additional information. I'm not saying you're going to use every single tool. That's a lot of lines in there. But I'm showing you various ways that you can use these tools to increase your profits. Now here's another one. Notice here when the Cobra comes under, we watch for the spread in the white line, or for the Cobra to cross the orange line. But look at how when it spreads under the white line, notice that. See, that's another tool you can use. There's so many of them here. Here's a crossover. See how the Cobra crosses over, giving you additional confirmation of an upside move. Let me really blow this up so you can see a lot more. See that? Here's prices crossing up here. Cobra crossing over this white line filter. Look at this. White line crossing the orange line, and then crossing the white line simultaneously, and down they go. Cobra holding the white line. You see that? See how it's just barely holding the white line, but it's a little closer because it's just one example of an additional filter when you're trading. And you're like me, you're looking for every bit of information that you're on the right side, and simultaneously, should I be getting out of this deal? You know what I mean? I'm in this trade, on the right side, they're starting to get crunched here. Should I be getting out or letting them go? And maybe you have certain profit levels you're looking at, which is great. It's always good to do that too. But if you're trying to measure it exactly, but look at this. Here's the Cobra once again. You're in this trade, you go, okay, I'm long. Uh-oh, it's dipping back lower. But again, it's just another filter where you say, okay, well, the Cobra is now crossing over the white line, and then they make a big spike up right when they do that. Yeah, and they come back. Welcome to the wonderful world of trading. But when this happened, of course, when you're long here at 79 and they jump up to 85, you like that, and you don't like it when they pull back to 78. But the Cobra was still green and had still crossed over. It blinked red for a minute, but it's still spreading over this white line. Again, I'm just giving you showing you the amazing precision tools of Boomerang. And as long as that Cobra is trailing the white line, you can see right into the close this day, the white line trailed the Cobra all the way up. And then, of course, the market closed, so you're done. Oh, this was today's apparently. Yeah, this was today's market. Okay, whatever. So you get the idea. Let me show you a few more examples of that, and I'll move into another element here of the roadmap. Just let me scroll back. Let me scroll way back here so I really just walk away from what I was just looking at. And I have no idea where we are. Here's a big move here. And again, now again, the Cobra crossing white line is just an example. And a lot of times that's best used on the initial blast in the markets when you're watching, okay, the filter crosses here, and you're watching, obviously you got a red dynamic trend band number 1 or number 2, and number 1 is not shown on here today. That's the faster line, which would have been magenta colored, would have authorized this trade here. You have the price pressure bands crossing under. You see that? And then you see the filter open up here, and that's telling you that you can pile on the contracts. You've already got the matching DTBs, and this looks kind of a, no, it's actually a reset of a whole. This is later in the session. But once again, Cobra trailing the white line. See on that initial blast, and indeed all through this entire move, it's just an additional tool. Look at how the Cobra was completely trailing this white line all the way down. I'm not saying you can or would or should have even tried to hold this whole thing, but my experience is on the initial blast after it crosses the orange line and then the Cobra starts trailing the white line. It's really a pleasant way, along with, the white and orange line filter, which you can use for stop levels. Once you see the Cobra trailing the white, you can use those carefully, especially the orange line, as stop levels or areas, along with the Bollinger Band in this case, where to measure the trade and stay in. But you can see once the Cobra stayed under the white line here and continued lower all the way until it crossed up over here. Do you see that? There was no change in the crossover until the Cobra changed color, and then it crossed up here. And I'm not saying you would have held it to here. I'm just saying what a beautiful measure that is, an additional measure. And both of those, by the way, holding in the trade channel, which is this shaded area. So we give you a lot of tools to really stay on the right side of the market. And here's the Cobra here. Now let's take a little shakier example of a channel which they're trying to rebound off this huge move here. The Cobra crosses up here and the price are holding up. Even on this spill here, the Cobra changed color, but it's still above the white line. And the prices keep hanging up until you get over to here and they start blending together. That's when you know that things are about to change. And again, it's later in the day, just because it's a chart example. It's handy right here. I can show you this. See how the filter crossed here too. Notice that? How the white line crossed under the orange line, which is a secondary part of the filter. These are the best. I've worked so many years at developing these things. They look simple when they're right there in front of you, but you have no idea how many lost weekends and hours of experimentation to get the absolute best filters. And I have to admit, it's for my own trading. That's why I did it. But I'm offering these to you as Boomerang traders and other just even if you don't own Boomerang, you can use the roadmap and you'll be shocked at how accurate your trading will be becoming, plus the 2 hours of instruction on all the things like I'm teaching you now. And this, I'll be posting this video so you'll have that as well. But all this, many lost weekends and years of work to discover the exact right combinations of filters to make this all work so that you can do what? That's right, pile on more contracts and give yourself a raise because you have so much confidence in reading this. So notice right here, the Cobra crossed under the orange line, the white line crossed under the Cobra and under the, it's actually kind of astounding. I never cease to be amazed at my own work. Sometimes you discover things. A lot of it's like magical almost, because you apply your ability and your research but then things show up and you go, wow, that's incredible. Because look, the market's spiking against you, and you got out of the long and you're thinking, where are you going to go? And the market starts spiking. Emotionally, of course, you're going to think, oh, they're spiking higher. It still wants to go higher, but clearly the cross under of the filter and the Cobra under the orange filter, and then the Cobra crosses white. Clearly, that bias is changing, regardless of the price kind of what we call being faked out. How many times we've all had that happen where you get faked out by a price move because it jolts higher and you go, oh God, I got to get out of this trade because I don't want to lose. And it was just a fake out. But looking at this, you're going, no, there's no way. And then slowly but surely, you get the red ink, you get the candles starting to bleed some red ink as they start losing that upside ground. And once again, the cobra is leading the white line down, and down they go, and down they go, all the way to down. Look at that. All the way until they start changing here. And you'll see the cobra change colors as they shift. And you're not going to ideally wait for that long to get out of this trade. In fact, even when, as you know, our bias reading is using the dynamic trend band uh, number 2 here, this thicker line, this part of the dynamic trend. When the prices cross over that, the bias changes anyway, respective of the color change. The bias is some level is still changing, although because it stays red, there's still that pull there. But look at that. It actually, the dynamic trend band number 2 here called the exact bottom in terms of where they crossed here. Anyway, so that gives you an example of how wonderful that is. And Larry's asking what is the white line is. What I'm saying is this is part of the roadmap package. This is an additional study which I just created fairly recently after many, many years of traders asking me, boy, we love Boomerang. It works beautiful. What more do you know? What other stuff you got? What other goodies? Because that's traders. They always want to know, how can I improve my accuracy? How can I build up my confidence so I can put on more contracts, give myself a raise? Is there other things you have that I can use? I finally put it all together and said, yeah, this was just November last year. So what, 6 months ago? Um, After a year and a half of research, the release of my new Boomerang Road Map. So that white line and the orange line, this filter, well, you see here, Larry, it's shown. This is on the blog under resources. You can read about the Boomerang Roadmap, and you can order it there too. Just click on this button down here. It should be higher up, but you just click here, purchase Boomerang Roadmap, and you'll have it. You'll just download it on Ninja, and even if you don't own Boomerang, you can have the roadmap, and you'll have tremendous filters to use for your charts, regardless of what time frame you're using. But we have recommended things, and I talk about that in the like I said, there's um, 2 in-depth instructional videos how to set up and apply everything. And I go through meticulously. Rather than just hand you a template, I show you how to build a template, because if you're going to be a career trader, you eventually got to learn how to build a template. In the roadmap, you want to learn it from the ground up. So I kind of I take you through it step by step so you can learn it from the ground up. But all these indicators are in here. There's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then in the 2 hours of instruction, I point you towards many other things. Like what's not even mentioned in here is what I'm talking about today is the Cobra white line filter here. You see? And once these both start crossing over the dynamic trend band number 2 there, if you were holding this as a runner, that's where you get off. And you can also hold it, the white line and the dynamic trend band number 2. There's all kinds of things you do, but it's just additional tools that will absolutely, are things that I've researched along and absolutely blow your mind when you start using them, how accurate they are. So one more thing, and then I'll end this webinar here, but I wanted to talk about the roadmap today and the value of the tools. Even if you purchase the roadmap, and just for the price pressure bands I showed you, and the filter, or just the price pressure, they're going to give you an advance warning of where to get in the Boomerang trades. The most advanced warning will usually come from the price pressure bands, and of course the filter crossing over is more of a confirmation notice. It's kind of a confirmation. Then you can compare the Cobra to the white line. You can watch the orange and the white lines to spread out, and watch for the Cobra to trail the white line. So that's again, when you're a trader, Information is what's valuable. And if you can get this kind of information, which is what an indicator is, an indicator indicates. It indicates and gives you information. That is so valuable when it allows you to pile on more contracts and or get on the right side in the first place, which Boomerang does, but then to hold on that right side, like see here how the price pressure bands were opening up, and then the market, as it does, it backtracks a little, but then they open up again, and the price pressure bands follow that price all the way down until they squish together right here. And you would ideally be out before then, but it just guides you along the way. It's just nice information without cluttering the charts to give you more tools for how to do that. Works beautiful on the crude oil as well in wrapping up. Works very well on crude oil. I use it every day in my live trading room to use it. And I also use it because crude oil is a pretty fast contract. I also use the orange line specifically to tailor tighter trade stops, because sometimes you'll be trading and it's a perfect setup and everything, but for some reason, like today was really weird. Did you see that right after the opening on mini NAS? They just crunched the market. They did the same on the crude oil. Where was that today? Crude oil got hit too. Oh, here it is. The mini NAS and the crude oil both right about the same time just got smashed straight down. Some political thing on TV. It's always that lately. But let me show you one thing real quick now. These are part of the Boomerang Road Map as well. Very valuable, and these are institutional levels. Now again, keep in mind, I give you two key pivots in the package that basically if the prices if Boomerang's trading under that, you got a rock solid short. If it's trading above it, a rock solid long. If you get a short setup but you're still above that one pivot, use extra caution. Again, these are good and they work beautiful. They're tighter, but you combine these three and you got that. But I have even additional ones there to show you. Now, for example, here's a classic example. This chart is all tightened up here. This yellow line is a key. It's like an institutional level of fair value. Now keep in mind, this is being watched all over the world by big institutions as well as traders like us, because obviously it's right here on this webinar. But this level is being watched very carefully, as well as the first level oversold. It's not exactly oversold or it's just where key institutions are watching for the market for the price is getting a little bit discounted, because these tools are used by big traders that, say for example, are under instruction by their firm. We love Microsoft right now and we need to get long to the teeth in Microsoft. We want to buy Microsoft and we want it at a discount. They're going to use these institutional levels to buy the stock at a discount. They're not going to buy it at the fair value level, because you can see if they did that here, the guy, he'd be fired that afternoon if he came in and just said, well, I bought it at the institutional level. I bought 100 million shares. No, you idiot, we got to get a discount. Anyway, they're all trained. They go to college for this stuff and everything. But we put in these levels here in Boomerang so that you can take advantage of them. So you can see they came right up to this level, but that price still wanted to be discounted. This is the first discount level, and as they start moving into this zone here, that price is getting really discounted. Now in this case, that market kept really getting discounted, but you can see when I crunch them up, and again on the video I go into extreme detail on how to read this stuff. Right now I'm just giving you a synopsis. Here's a discount, but everything's still holding under the orange filter in general. You see that, and holding under the dynamic trend band. But as they start moving into this level, the discount gets a lot steeper. So maybe traders are bigger traders. This, for us day traders, we can use it for the same purpose, to buy dips on Boomerang In other words, reversal buys here. And notice how when they came out of this is one of those trades. You see these all the time where the market just shoots up. You can't even get in the boomerang trade because they just blast higher. That's because they got the price got discounted so much on this particular future, this mini NASDAQ. They shot up and then they hovered a while and then and now there's another level in between here that you can put in. I just took it out, but there's another level that I can practically get. It's right between these two, which would be right about here, and you can see prices were fading there. So it's again another way you can say, nope, market still wants to fade more. And it just ran more of a discount until the very close. This was that day a short while ago where they just got blasted. That was it. It was all over that day. So they never got back to fair value. They blasted them the next day, but notice how they started working on Globex, the red line levels, and that's where they're really getting steeply discounted. And they're going to work their way back to the gold line, and that's where they start buying the value. And you can see as they came into the open, the prices started moving back up where they got a little bit expensive. Whereas before they were discounted. Yesterday they were all discounted. And look at now, notice here when they're running right up against this zone again, immediately they pull back where? That's right, exactly to the gold line, fair value. So again, these are additional tools which I train you exactly how to use on these two videos. And you can see once they came back to fair value, they're spiking right back up and they're working their way back up again. And again, there's an additional line you can put in that would be right about where my cursor is, which will show you how to catch larger scale moves if you want. And I describe that in the videos. Anyway, I wanted to thank you so much for watching this today. This also works very nice on the crude oil. And as I said, you can join my live trading room, and we trade them every day and identify the setups and everything. It's quite exciting. It's fun to do every day. I've been doing it for a while, and I didn't have a room for a long time, but traders kept requesting it, so I finally just, you know, a couple years ago opened up a trade room, and so we do this live every day now. It's quite exciting, quite fun. And the market's never a dull moment. It's like I call it a chess game. It's like playing chess with the markets every day. So thanks again for joining with us, and join us on this chess game, and let's make some money together and try to have some fun while we're doing it.